Alright guys, what's up and welcome back to another episode of Shoots with Coops, and today I finally want to talk to everyone about my journey to the perfect rangefinder camera. So guys, obviously, without a shadow of a doubt, in my mind, I'm sure you can tell by the title, all that, my perfect rangefinder, that is the Leica M6 in this case. This is what I'm shooting with these days. It is my second M6 body, but it is my third Leica film camera, but that is a story for another time. But what I wanted to talk to everyone about is because, I've been using Leicas for a long time, but I have gone through every single other alternative that there is on the market, which you might be comparing a Leica to, and I've still come back every single time. I've come back to Leica, and I wanted to go through all of that today with you guys to maybe help some people with more of a definitive guide on why people love Leica film cameras so much. All this first happened years and years ago when I held a friend's Voigtlander Bessa. At the time, I'd been shooting SLRs for as long as I can remember. Always shot film SLRs, and one day a friend handed me his Bessa, and I'm looking at it and I'm going, what the hell is this? And it's a rangefinder, and I was like, what is a rangefinder? Completely oblivious to the fact. I picked it up, and as soon as I looked through that viewfinder, I just thought, wow, this is my jam. This type of focusing, being able to see everything clearly, this is my camera of choice, a camera that uses this system. So obviously straight away, I'm, YouTube, internet, Google, looking at everything, looking at all the cameras, and, obviously I'd heard about Leicas from, just being around the block. Everyone's heard about Leica cameras, but I started looking into how much it was going to cost me to buy a Leica film camera. So from a local place here in Perth, I actually picked myself up a Leica M7. Yes, I went straight to the electronic heavy hitter M7 because at the time it was quite cheap. When I picked it up, it wasn't a very expensive camera, and I got it for a great deal, mint condition. It had aperture priority, it had an A lock mode, it had all these cool features in it, the stepless shutter as well. The LED readout of your shutter speeds, not just the two arrows with the little circle like most. Like the M6, I should say, and the M6 TTL before it, and it was fantastic, and I absolutely loved that thing. I shot it to hell and back. But then it got to a point where the prices were becoming pretty obscene, and I'm thinking to myself, you know what? There's other cameras out there. Like, I've got so much money invested into this single camera when I've got other 35mm cameras that do the exact same thing, essentially. So I sold it. And what did I buy? I bought a medium format camera, but I also bought the Minolta CLE because I wanted to try my luck at it. Minolta CLE, I've done a video on that camera, stands for Compact Leica Electronics. It was really, really small. It was really, really lightweight. I sold the M7 with the lenses I had, and, I bought my Minolta CLE with the 40mm f2 Rocore and had a stack of cash left over. And I shot the Minolta for ages. It was really light, compact. I mean, it was a bit small for my giant hands. It was pretty damn small, but, it was a great little camera. It had a few quirks with the light meter and the aperture priority, but I ended up selling it down the track because it just wasn't a Leica. It didn't scratch that itch. It didn't feel the same to shoot it. So what do I go and buy? I'll go and buy myself a black Leica M6. So I had the M6 for 4 or 5 or 6 months or something like that. Shot a whole heap through it. It was great. But then at that point, the price of a Leica M6 started to really go through the roof. And I mean, this is years ago now, but it was starting to get pretty insane, thinking that, like, it's just a 35mm film camera. Like, how can it be that much? It was starting to get pretty popular, like really popular with the YouTube crowd, so to speak. And I sold the M6 again because, again, it was just so much money to have invested into a 35mm camera. And I think at that time I still had a Nikon F100, which was just beast of a thing. I still have my original Nikon EL, which I still have. I think I had my Fuji Class S point and shoot as well. And I was like, I don't need all that money invested. So I sold it. I had a stack of cash left over. I think I bought another medium format camera. I don't know, something expensive. And then a little while goes down the track and I'm going, I really miss a rangefinder. Like, I'm sick of SLRs. I want my rangefinder back. And I thought, Leicas are just getting too expensive now. So I thought I'll try my luck with something different. And I tried the Voigtlander Bessa, which I did a video on this channel ages ago. I got a Voigtlander Bessa R2A. And like I said in that video, that camera had more features. It had an extra stopper shutter speed, aperture priority. It had the A lock button on the back as well. And it was great, but it just wasn't the same. The build quality wasn't there. The ergonomics weren't there. It felt a lot flimsier. It just didn't have that soul, whatever you want to call it. It just didn't have that little extra, pinch of magic or something. It just didn't have it. And I only shot 5 or 6 rolls with it, and then I sold it again. And then what did I buy? I thought I'd go for the hybrid electronic style, the Contax G series. And I didn't want to buy a G2 because they were just getting ludicrous expensive. So I bought a Contax G1 with the 45 planar. Fantastic lens. The camera, not so fantastic. Too heavy in electronics. Crappy autofocus. I know it got better on the Contax G2, but it still was, not the best autofocus systems. Cameras were 90s cameras. They just weren't at the level we are today. They were single point AF. They weren't that great. And again, I was like, the electronics scare me. And I'd always wanted to try the Contax system because there's a lot of hype with the Contax G1, G2 on the internet, the Contax T2, T3, and I always wanted to try one. And yes, it was definitely better built and felt better built than the Voigtlander Bessa, but the tiny viewfinder, it just wasn't for me. So I sold that. And then I took a gamble on a camera that I'd always wanted to try, but I was very, very scared to because of the electronic nature of it. And that was the Konica Hexar RF. So a manual focus, not autofocus, which I prefer, a manual focus rangefinder with 0.004 of a second max shutter, AE, every single bell and whistle you could possibly want on a camera, the Konica Hexar has it. Except it's all electronic, there's no film advance, it's auto advance, everything like that. And I really wanted to try my luck because I'd always thought maybe that's the one. Maybe that's the non-Leica equivalent. Like as some people say, if Contax and Leica had a baby, you'd get the Hexar. And it's very true in that sense. Build quality's good. But the first one I bought, it died. I got it from a local guy. I took it home. I shot half a roll of film and it just died on me. Now he gave me my money back and I ended up buying one of the classic kits that came in the big red felt box with the Hexar RF 50F2, which was meant to be a Summicron copy, which really I think it is. It was a fantastic lens because I really wanted to give the Hexar a proper go, not just the one I got dudded with. But I only shot 5 rolls before the electronics really started to scare me, and I felt like the cameras, the viewfinder, that was the big thing. The rangefinder, viewfinder on the Hexar, just nowhere near the Leica quality. So I sold that, and I've been without a rangefinder for a while until I picked up the M6 Titanium. So I'm back. I've done the full circle. I've gone Leica, no Leica, Leica, and tried everything else. I've tried everything in between that you would compare a Leica to an M6, M4P, M5, everything you compare it to. I tried it to think that there might be something else out there for me except Leica, and turns out there's not. So now that we've gotten that long-winded story out of the way, I want to go over the reasons why I choose the Leica M film cameras for me and why they work for me. The first thing is the build quality, guys. I said it in any other video I've done about a camera compared to this, nothing compares. This is the best built rangefinder you're going to find. Everything about it, the sleek lines, straight finishes, the attention to detail is better than anyone else. That's the first thing off the bat. And no one's going to argue with me on that. The build quality is phenomenal. Second is the design, guys. So the design and ergonomics of the camera. One thing I love is that the camera fits you very well. Now, the contoured shape of the Leica M was obviously designed so it fits snug within the palm of your hand like that. And it's very, very comfortable. It is heavy, but I have big hands. I'm a big guy. It's not too heavy for me at all. But it just comfortably fits, rests in your hand like that. Obviously, I always use the advanced lever. Once you've cocked the shutter, it locks, and that becomes the grip essentially what they based all the thumbs up grips that you see on most modern cameras that people buy and put in the hot shoe. That's essentially what it always was. It was that really comfortable ease of use. Having the ability, I should say, the part of the design and ergonomics is the rangefinder. Like I said, no other rangefinder compares to brightness wise, sort of the contrast. Nothing is quite as nice and easy to focus that I have found than the Leica system. And this goes for all Leica film cameras. If you're a 50 shooter, it's an M3 for you. If you're a 35-28, it's a M6, M4, something like that. But focuses and handles better and is much more easier than any other camera I've tried. I've tried them all, guys, and this rangefinder system that Leica employs is better than everyone else's. One big thing that I love about the Leica system, no one really talks about, and that's the shutter system. Okay, so now inside the Leica, let's get this to focus. Come on, please. Please, 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 please. I know you want to. It's thinking about it. There we go. So inside the M6, and same for all M film cameras, they have a horizontal traveling cloth plane shutter. So it's not a metal focal plane shutter that ups and downs, it goes side to side, and it's cloth. Now that's the limitation. That's why you only get 1/1000th of a second max shutter speed, because it can't go any faster. But that cloth shutter adds to the less vibrations. That's what, that's what people say, oh, it's so quiet, it's so quiet. That's the reason why it's quiet, because that doesn't make much noise and it doesn't make much vibration. This is the only camera I've been able to find that I can comfortably handhold at a 15th and an 1/8 of a second. As long as the subject's not moving, I can comfortably handhold to get a good shot, to get a clean, sharp file that's in focus, that's not blurry. The way that shutter works is fantastic. I mean, you've got to get over that limitation of 1/1000th of a second, but if it was good enough for all the people who came before you that made some of the most important images in history, it's good enough for you guys now. Next thing is the lenses, guys. Now, people always talk about Leica glass and Leica lenses. I have the 50 Summicron with me now. It's amazing. It's almost too good. There's not a single thing wrong with it. Like, it's so sharp, corner to corner. It's got that look, but there's no character like older vintage lenses have. It's just perfect. So good. Which is good. But, really most people whinge about stuff, but I can't get it to flare. I can't do it. It's a fantastic lens. But I'm not one of those people who subscribes to the thought that you have to put Leica lenses on a Leica body. I've used Zeiss lenses, Voigtlander lenses, Konica lenses, and they're all pretty damn good. But the Leica lenses just have that edge in build quality. That's really it. It's not, and it's only a fraction that they're not as good. The Voigtlander, the Zeiss, they're not, it's not like they're bad lenses. They are amazing lenses, and they're better built than pretty much most of your DSLR and mirrorless lenses you're going to find today. Anything built for the M mount is stellar, but the Leica just have that little bit extra. And it is what it is. You pay for it, but you do pay a high premium, but you pay for that sort of quality with the optics. And I'd be a liar if I said that the heritage of the Leica didn't attract me to the system, guys. When you look at some of your most idolized, the photographers that you look up to and worship the most, and if they've used a certain camera system, you're probably going to be more inclined towards that Leica, that camera system being Leica at this point. People like Robert Capa, Mary Ellen Mark, Joel Meyerowitz, to name a few. There's just so many people who have used that system all throughout the 60s, 70s, 80s, 50s, 40s, and they've made some amazing pictures. And you can't help but feel part of that legacy. It sounds cheesy, and it sounds like cringeworthy now that I hear myself say it, but just having that camera that these people used, it makes you feel like, you can capture, you've got to have that eye, you've got to be a good photographer and work a scene, but you feel part of that heritage, in a sense. It sounds cheesy, but everyone who owns a Leica says the same thing. You know what I'm saying. So guys, to round it out, I've been around the block and back, and I've still come back to the Leica M camera. It is just a far superior 35mm rangefinder than any other I have tried, and I have tried them all. Anything you could compare to this, I've tried it, and the Leica just seems to win me back hands down, and I keep coming back to it. So I hope you enjoyed that one, guys. I hope maybe if you're on the fence, things about, or you're looking at buying Leicas or something like that, it's helped you in some way. I'm back. Sorry for not being away for so long. I have a baby, but I'm back. More content to come, and I'll see you guys in the next one.